Well, good morning, everybody. For those of us in Australia, it's morning. For those of you in the United States, it's afternoon. And for people in other places, it may well be another time. I'm Adam Graycar. I'm the director of the Stretton Institute at the University of Adelaide. And we're delighted to be running this webinar in conjunction with the Australian Institute of Criminology. The Stretton Institute is a policy institute that encourages political debate, and we work across a wide spectrum of activities, and many of the things that we do touch so many aspects of our lives. And the topic we're dealing with today, child sexual abuse material, we've seen an explosion of material, and the demand has grown and the supply seems to be keeping up with demand. And so we have a situation where protecting children's paramount, and policing, of course, carries many, many challenges and many risks. And while technology has been able to deal with some of the problems, it's also increased the supply, and that's where we have the conundrum. You know, is it a criminal justice issue? Is it a criminological issue? Is it a public policy issue? It's complex, and we're very fortunate to have a couple of very highly skilled researchers today to talk about it, and we're delighted that the Australian Institute of Criminology has funded this research. So I'm going to hand over now to Sarah Napier from the Australian Institute of Criminology.
Thank you very much, Adam. So in 2019, the Australian Institute of Criminology launched the Child Sexual Abuse Material Reduction Research Program, which this is where we funded 8 projects that ultimately aimed to help reduce this type of offending. As Adam said, it's growing and it's becoming an increasing problem. So these projects that we funded were very diverse in their approaches. So they ranged from designing treatment programs for detected offenders to assisting police in investigations to then using also situational crime prevention approaches. And this diversity in approach is really crucial for this type of crime against children, because it's a crime that crosses borders and sectors. So we're particularly excited about this project with Russell and Bryce, because it uses innovative technology that has the potential to identify victims in child sexual abuse material and also detect offenders. So I'm very pleased today to introduce Associate Professor Russell Brewer from the University of Adelaide and Associate Professor Bryce Westlake from San Jose University. So the presentation today is called Developing Tools to Detect and Combat Child Sexual Abuse. So I'll hand over to Russell and Bryce now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Before I begin, I just want to provide a trigger warning. This presentation will make reference to child sexual abuse material and child pornography, although you will not see any such content. You will, however, see some pretty cute kittens in some slides later on down the track. So today we are delighted to share with you an automated platform that we have developed to detect, match, and analyze child sexual abuse videos using face and voice biometrics. Now, before we begin, I want to acknowledge our tremendous team and also the Australian Institute of Criminology for being critical partners in this work. Our team is comprised of academics, that is criminologists, psychologists and computer scientists from a range of universities around the world, as well as practitioners based here in Australia, namely in law enforcement and the Department of Defense. Now, there are too many names here to list and go through today, but I certainly wanted to acknowledge all of their important contributions, because this work would have not been possible without their input into this project. So today's presentation is going to be divided into 3 parts. First, we're going to provide some background context outlining the problems currently facing investigators in the field, as well as the rationale for the development of this tool. Second, we're going to provide a demonstration of the various capabilities of the tool, as well as demonstrate the results of a performance test conducted on a database of child sexual abuse material that was put together by law enforcement for testing purposes. Finally, we will conclude with a brief discussion of the implications of this work and the directions for future research. So with that, I will hand it over to Bryce, who is going to talk about the problem in context.
Thank you, Russell. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are excited to outline to you the work we've done thus far and where we are aiming to go over the next 12 months and even beyond that. First, we want to provide a bit of background about the problem we are seeking to address. The proliferation of child sexual abuse material online is outpacing law enforcement's ability to manage the problem. The resulting increase to workloads, coupled with the impact to investigators reviewing the content, has necessitated the integration of automated software tools into investigatory workflows. Currently, most automated software rely on hash values for identification. Hash values act as pseudo-digital fingerprints for computer files, with any alteration made to the file resulting in a new hash value. As promised, kittens. So as we can see in this example, if an offender edits an image or a website resizes an image upon upload, a new hash value is created. Thus, for this method to be useful, the media file needs to be previously known to investigators and it needs to be not modified. If the media file is modified, the hash value method becomes less useful. This is a problem present within child sexual abuse material investigations, thanks to offenders adding things to an image, such as that presented here, and the development of compilation videos, which mash together a bunch of separate CSA videos into one video. Most importantly, hash values are useful for minimizing investigators' contact with previously known videos and images, but they simply state that the media file is child sexual abuse material and do nothing to tell us about the media file, such as who is depicted within. So there's a need to identify methods in addition to hash values to aid child sexual abuse media investigations. Biometric detection and extraction approaches can increase investigatory capacity and enhance child sexual abuse material investigations. The most commonly used biometric feature is facial recognition. While this has proven beneficial and addresses some of the issues of relying only on hash values, it has its own limitations in application to child sexual abuse media files. For example, the lack of distinct facial features appearing in children, the inability to reliably estimate age, instances where the background clashes with the skin tone of the child, the degree of nudity present, and most importantly, the substantial proportion of child sexual abuse media that purposely shields faces of children from view. These limitations can lead to higher than desired rates of false positives and false negative matches, which reduces task automation and increases manual intervention and thus exposure to investigators. Plenty of work is being undertaken to address the limitations of current facial recognition capabilities. While some of the limitations will be overcome, others can never truly be overcome. Recognizing these limitations, researchers have advocated for augmenting facial recognition by combining with other biometric modalities. So we have seen a significant growth in the distribution of child sexual abuse videos over the past few years. While this is definitely concerning, videos provide an opportunity to incorporate additional biometric modalities to victim and offender identification that are not present within static images. The work we are presenting today seeks to address the limitations by combining facial recognition with another biometric modality. In this case, we are combining it with speaker recognition. In using face and voice, we believe that this can be extremely beneficial for identifying victims and offenders within child sexual abuse videos, where either the face is obscured or there's no audio. Additionally, relying on multiple biometric features can compensate for the limitations of each when used alone. This can help reduce the amount of manual verification that's needed to be conducted by investigators. It also has the ability to move beyond simply identifying that the media file is child sexual abuse via hash values, to being able to identify links across media files that can aid investigators. Today, we will introduce these capabilities as three separate components. The first is a web crawler, the second, a biometric analyzer, and the third, a network extractor and visualization tool. It's worth noting that these components have been developed to work together, but also function independently so that they can be implemented separately when needed. So the first video here describes our custom-built web crawler entitled Location Extraction of Child Exploitation Networks. This tool has been developed to function on the surface and dark web, scanning websites for child sexual abuse material and collect the media files for analysis. We have several modifications that we will be looking to make in the future, which we will describe at the end of the presentation.
Lucene is a custom-designed web crawler initially developed to scan surface web websites distributing child sexual abuse media and identifying known image hash values. Lucene has since been updated to function on the deep web and extract additional information. We start the data collection process by identifying website URLs where we want Lucene to begin. We can then restrict the data collection process to these specific websites or continued websites hyperlinked to the starting website. We can also place a cap on the size of the web crawl based on the number of websites or the number of web pages. Finally, we can identify domains that we want to exclude from the web crawl. We can then require specific criteria to be present for the data to be collected, such as a minimum number of self-selected keywords and/or a minimum number of hash values. We can also set Lucene to download attached videos and/or images. Once we have determined our criteria, Lucene begins the data collection process. Any images or videos that have a corresponding URL, such as attachments, can be downloaded and stored in a separate folder. The textual information associated with the name and location of the media is stored in a separate database.
So the second video describes our custom-built analyzer entitled Biometric Analyzer and Network Extractor. Bane is able to ingest the videos collected by the web crawler, extract biometric features, and match subjects contained within the videos. Bane is also able to function independently from the web crawler. For example, if an investigator can take a hard drive full of images and videos collected during an investigation and input it into Bane and have those media files analyzed and matched to either an existing database of victims and/or offenders or to other media files on the confiscated hard drive. We provide a demonstration here of its capabilities using a database of non-pornographic videos, namely celebrities, politicians, and other TV personalities.
This is a demonstration of the Biometric Analyzer and Network Extractor. Once the videos are downloaded by the web crawler to a local or network directory, they can be imported or ingested into the Biometric Analyzer and Network Extractor. This is done first by running a single command that will engage a 5-step process. In this example, we are ingesting 40 videos of celebrities and politicians downloaded from the internet, constituting 8 different subjects with 5 videos each. At step 2, the videos will be processed. That is, the tool will sample each video and extract any faces that appear within each frame. Here, a high-quality reference face for each subject will be selected in order to increase the matching performance at future steps. At this step, the audio will also be separately analyzed and voice features extracted. At step 3, the videos will be matched according to the face and audio biometric features extracted. At step 4, the performance results are reported in the form of various ROC curves and histograms, including for face matching, for voice matching, and for fusion. The matching methodology can also be adjusted here according to user specifications. At step 5, users can further explore match results using a custom GUI that we have developed for this purpose. The GUI can be accessed using our integrated local web server and any web browser. I will now take you through some of the features of the GUI. First, we can head over to the face viewer, where we can see each and every face that has been detected and extracted from each frame of each video. Using the drop-down menu here, we can navigate to our example subject for this demonstration. In this case, being Cooper Anderson, or subject A, video number 2. Clicking here will take us to the first video ingested of this subject. We can now see each of the faces that have been extracted from the video for this subject, alongside other important information, including what frame the face was extracted from, as well as a measure of face quality. We will use this measure of face quality to determine what reference face will be used for matching later. Next, I'll head over to the audio player. Here, the audio has been extracted from the videos as a series of 5-second clips and then fed through a voice activity detector to remove any clips that do not contain any voiced audio, that is, sounds produced when one's vocal cords vibrate. Navigating again to our example subject, we can see that we're already at our example subject here. We can see that the tool has extracted a series of 12 voiced audio clips alongside some other reference information. We can sample these voiced audio clips directly here in the GUI. For example, clip 1 sounds like this.
I just want to take a moment to talk about Haiti, one of the places the President of the United States referred.
Or clip 6, for example.
I spent more than a month there and have returned many times on assignment and on vacation.
Now, let's explore the matching functionality of the tool. Keeping to audio for now, I can head over to the audio match viewer, where we can see a series of voice matches between audio clips, denoted by video 1 on the left-hand side and video 2 on the right. We can see on the far right that there are match scores given for each match that is identified. Navigating back to our example subject, we can select a video on the left-hand side, this again being subject A, video number 2, and then on the right, what we'll do is we'll head down to all and press go, and this will show us the extent to which subject A, video 2, Cooper Anderson, matches with all of the other videos contained within the database. We can see here that the voiced audio clips from our reference video on the left-hand side are correctly matching with clips from the same subject here, subject A again, but this time different videos, on the right-hand side. Within the matcher, we can also sample the matches to manually confirm their authenticity. We can see, for example, here, multiple instances of voiced audio clips for this subject matching across videos 2, but also videos 3 on the right. For example, I'll play 2 clips and we can check their authenticity.
Country. I was taught math in high school by a Haitian immigrant named Yves Bolel, who worked hard to
Video 1 versus video 2.
Closed doors at the summit in Helsinki. 7 days, and the White House still will not give a detailed.
So we can see that the tool has identified a genuine match here, in this case, between video 2 and video 3 for this particular subject. Now we can actually do the same again for face matching. So I'll head over to the face match viewer here on the left-hand side. I'll navigate to our reference subject here. I'll then instruct the tool to show me all of the face matches for subjects contained within this video across the entire data set. And press go. And as you can see here, a series of face matches are again returned for this particular subject. On the left-hand side, marking video 1, that first video that we've selected, that reference video, and then on the right-hand side, all of the other videos that have returned a genuine face match. What we also see on the right-hand side are corresponding match scores for each match that has been returned.
So that provides a brief overview of our first two components, the web crawler and the biometric analyzer. I'm now going to pass over this presentation to Russell, who will bring you through our example where we actually applied this tool to a child sexual abuse video database.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Bryce. So as part of the development process, we endeavored to test the matching performance of our software tool within a CSAM context or CSAM environment. And to this end, we worked with law enforcement to compile a small labeled database of CSAM, which we could then use for testing purposes. Now, importantly, this labeled database established the ground truth. That is, was able to correctly identify precisely which video files matched with each video file, and importantly, which did not match with other videos. So this database included 70 videos constructed by law enforcement containing 21 subjects, distinct subjects with between 2 and 5 videos each. Now, videos were selected to be representative of the many challenging conditions that investigators encounter in real-world deployment. So these ranged from staged videos to self-produced videos, and they included subjects that were as young as 5 years old and as old as 14 years old, roughly. Now, there were 4 criteria that need to be adhered to for a video to be included. First, the video had to contain child sexual abuse material as defined under Australian law. Each video needed to contain a primary subject, that is, a child whose face was visible at some point in the video and whose voice was clearly audible at some point in the video. That is, they spoke at least a handful of words. Now, importantly, videos containing more than one voice were excluded from this test, and this was to permit the assessment of the speaker recognition algorithm. As well, secondary subjects could not appear in more than one primary subject's video. So let's talk about the results of this, the results of this performance test using this small database. So before I get into these ROC curves, I think it's important to provide just a crash course on interpreting what we're looking at here. So along the x-axis of these two ROC curves represents what we call the false match rate. That is the rate at which false positive matches are returned. On the y-axis, we have the true match rate. That is the rate at which genuine or true matches are returned. So on the left-hand side, we have our ROC curve for face, and we can see that we're achieving pretty good performance here. At a 72% true match rate, that is 72% of the true matches are correctly identified, we return a false positive rate or a false match rate of 1%. Now, if we're happy to increase our false match rate to 5%, we see a substantial improvement with respect to our true match rate. So at 5% false match rate, we receive a true match rate of 92%. Moving over to voice, we have slightly less performance. So a 65% true match rate returns a 1% false match rate. And again, increasing that false match rate to 5%. So if we allow 5% of matches returned to be false positives, we receive an 85% true match rate. Now, importantly, we can actually leverage and combine or fuse these two different biometric modalities together and match scores that have been returned to further increase accuracy. So these results portrayed in this ROC curve show us our performance results for the fused face and audio matching. Through fusion, we achieved a 94% true match rate while returning a 1% false match rate. At 5% false match rate or 5% false positives, we returned a 99% true match rate. Now, in looking at any of these graphs, it's important to note one distinct limitation insofar as speaker recognition does degrade as multiple voices are introduced. So while it's not an issue here for these tests, this particular problem will need to be attended to prior to the widespread deployment of this tool in a CSAM environment. So what else can we do with this match data beyond simply just matching one video to the next? Well, ultimately, this tool can provide the capability of using these multiple biometric cues to triangulate matches, that is, matches of offenders or matches of victims across large data sets. And this can actually reveal really important patterns of co-victimization across a network or co-offending across a network. Now, in this chart, I provide a really simplistic example of 4 videos with 3 offenders and 4 victims. And drawing on face and voice biometrics, that is the red and the green arrows, we can see that all of the offenders in these 4 videos are linked through the co-victimization of the same children. That is, offender 1 and offender 2 are linked via their co-abuse or co-offending against victim number 1. Offender 2 and offender 3 are linked via victim number 3. And the inverse is true for children as well, that they are all linked through their interactions with co-offenders across the videos. Now, what's really important when we look at these charts is to point out that we actually would not be able to establish these links without these 2 separate biometric cues. With face alone, for example, we would lose entirely victim 1, victim 2, and offender 1. Now, moving beyond this simplistic example, I'm actually really excited to be able to share with you the network analysis capabilities of this tool that has been conducted on a small sample of media files that have been seized from a real child sexual abuse investigation. Now, before I show this, I just want to stress that these results are very preliminary and only contain about 10% of the entire data set that we are currently working on processing. So more results will emerge from this work as time progresses. This video that I'm going to present right now is really just meant to be a teaser to show you what we can do and where we are going with this technology. So be sure to check back for more. So let me show you how data exported from BANE can be visualized. In addition to the graphical user interface demonstrated previously, the software is capable of visualizing matched data as a larger network in order to make it possible to identify patterns across large data holdings. These are portrayed as interactive network maps, which can be utilized by the investigator in their investigations. This example network map is derived from a recent child sexual abuse investigation and contains 150 videos depicted here as nodes. The numbers corresponding to each node represent the unique video ID assigned to each video. So for example, we have video 74 here, 34 here, 133 here. But these numbers can be easily replaced with file names if preferred by the investigator. We are now able to layer on ties between nodes, each tie representing at least one biometric match between subjects contained in one video and another subject in a separate video. So we can see here, for example, a match, either a face or a voice match between nodes or videos 82 and 108, between 35 and 17. We can see a triad here of 14, 33, and 68, and so forth. We have a number of isolates that do not have any matches contained within the data set. We can also dig deeper and identify the biometric cues driving each match. That is, we can apply label data to the tie to identify exactly on what basis a match is being derived. For example, the link between video 35 and 17 are linked on the basis of a face match, whereas videos 58 and 18 are matched on the basis of voice. Other matches might use a combination of these two biometric cues. For example, videos 82 and 108 are matched on the basis of both a face and a voice match, whereas we might see combinations elsewhere. We can see from this data that some of these videos are more important or more central to the network than others, and that an investigator might be interested in quickly identifying which videos these might be. We can easily identify and parse out the centrality of a video by changing the size of the nodes appearing within the graph. Here, node size is linked to the node's centrality within the network, with the smaller nodes, or the isolates, having the lowest centrality, with the larger nodes with the most connections having the highest degree centrality. Now, with only a handful of matches appearing in this relatively small data set, we can see that this map is already getting a little crowded. So we can utilize other visualization algorithms to push the data that we are interested in, that is, our subject matches, to the periphery of the network, whilst keeping the isolates, or the data that we might wish to ignore, at least for now, at the center. This can make the data easier for investigators to parse out at a glance and methodically follow up. This network can, of course, be supplemented with new data from both historical but also new investigations, so as to identify new connections that might otherwise be missed through manual investigative processes. Brilliant. So that is a demonstration of the three components. Now let's move on and talk about some of the implications of this work. So we believe that this software capability can enhance investigatory capabilities in a number of different ways. First, it makes it easier to automatically identify new sexual abuse material and match that new material to a database using or leveraging those different biometric cues. This also reduces the need for a human to actually sit there and watch and catalog all CSAM that is detected or seized. They can in fact, use that tool to clip out thumbnails of faces or clip out voice clips rather than having to watch through each and every video to discern who is in there, but rather using the tool to be able to discern this information just at a glance. Third, they can also use visualization techniques to focus investigations on particular subjects, be it focusing on specific victims that we might be interested in and tracking across a network, or offenders that we might be interested in knowing more about and how they connect in across media. And as this database grows in size, it provides an opportunity to draw out those important links between subjects across these larger networks. So let's talk about where we're going in this with this work. We're really, really excited about some of the future directions. Over the next 12 months, we have a number of activities planned in partnership with the Australian Institute of Criminology. And these upgrades to our prototype are designed to focus and really hone in on increasing performance, but also the scalability of this tool. First and foremost, we're looking at moving beyond videos to include images, PNGs, bitmaps, JPEGs, a wide range of different image formats, as we understand that catching images in such networks will be particularly critical to combating this problem. We're also going to focus on a number of under the hood improvements. That's improving the processing capabilities of the tool so that it can run on servers or high performance clusters, but also leveraging GPUs for increased performance. We also plan to upgrade the graphical user interface. For the purposes of our prototype, we designed a GUI that we could use for testing purposes, but we understand that this GUI may not be appropriate for or fit in with investigatory workflows. So we plan to work directly with law enforcement to design a user interface that is useful, practical, and will help investigators get the job done. As I also mentioned, one of the limitations with current speaker recognition algorithms is the difficulties associated with parsing out more than one voices in a video. So to address this problem, we plan to introduce new speaker diarization techniques to be able to effectively parse out videos that contain more than one voice so that we can increase the accuracy of matching moving forward. And then lastly, over these next 12 months, we plan to implement some computer vision capabilities as well to essentially detect and sort child sexual abuse material as it is ingested into the tool. So as to identify whether an ingested video contains child sexual abuse material or not. If yes, include in the database. If no, discard. Beyond these 12, and Bryce is going to tell us a little bit about what we've got, the bigger picture, what we've got planned beyond these 12 months.
Thank you. So we're excited with what we've accomplished thus far with our research, as well as our plans over the next 12 months with AIC. However, we wanted to close with a brief summary of where we intend to go in the long term. While the next year is focused on improving performance and scalability, beyond that, our focus is on implementing new capabilities. So first, we will be enhancing the web crawler to increase its capabilities to detect and extract different formats and presentations of videos. This includes being able to extract videos that are being streamed, whether live or as a recording. This will be important given the transition we are seeing towards live streaming within child sexual abuse material. Second, we will be looking to integrate additional relevant biometric modalities. While we do not want to overload the analysis, as each modality will increase processing time, we believe that additional features could compensate for the limitations of each modality when used on its own. This was evident in the research that we presented to you here today, where alone face and speaker recognition were 65 to 72% accurate. But when fused together, they led to 94% accuracy. Third, there has been significant strides made on being able to identify the make and model of devices that have created videos and images, as well as any software program that has been used to modify the material. We will be looking to integrate these in as it could be helpful for as a matching attribute, such as there's a face match and there's a voice match, and the two videos were created using the same device. However, it could also be beneficial for investigations, such as for search warrants. Investigators can say, we're looking for an iPhone 12. Fourth, we will be integrating natural language processing to identify users across websites who may be distributing child sexual abuse material that are actually the same person or are connected in some fashion. Fifth, and this is kind of looking to the big goal, the overarching idea, long-term plan, is to be able to take all the information that we collect about child sexual abuse media files, as well as information collected about who is disseminating the material online, and develop profiles. While this feature would not be used for every media file, we see this as allowing investigators to have a video that they are wanting to know more information about and be able to pull up the other media files that contain that child within the database, the devices and software that have been used to create that media file and similar ones, potential offenders linked to the child, accounts online that are distributing media files of the child, information that may be known about the victims and or child that may lead investigators to being able to rescue the child and arrest the offender, and any other relevant information that comes around. Finally, the long-term goal is to be able to integrate the components to allow for real-time processing of data. So for example, the web crawler can be scanning a website and see a new video has been posted. That video can be ingested and analyzed. It can then be matched to an existing database to see if it matches a known victim. Then information about the person distributing the media on the website can be collected and attached to that media file. Finally, the distribution of the new media file across websites can be tracked to better know how it is getting distributed and what steps can be taken to minimize distribution. So the research that we have presented here on developing automated methods to detect and match faces and voices in child sexual abuse videos is forthcoming in the Australian Institute of Criminology's Trends and Issues in Crime and Criminal Justice publication. We expect that this will be made available to the public in March or April. So on behalf of Russell, I want to thank all of you for joining us this morning. We are happy to answer any questions people may have about the tools we are developing, the research we have conducted, and or the directions we intend to take things with our work in the future. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Russell, Bryce, I gather, that's the end of your presentation, and
Yes.
you're now open for questions and comments. Please feel free to put your questions into the Q&A box, and we have one now. And as I sort of start to work through it, and it's come from Rod Broadhurst. But before we go to Rod's question, I'm very interested, Russell and Bryce, in how we start to integrate the technology with the policy. You've done a terrific job in developing a tool, and the tool, I'm sure, will be used and will be incredibly useful. Issues about how is this tool going to be implemented? What sort of training might be required? What sort of take-up might we have with this? Will it be universal? Will it happen only in rich countries? I mean, there are a number of policy issues which are almost separate from the technology issues. But look, let's start by going to Rod Broadhurst's question, and I think you can see that on the screen. And so I might hand over to Russell and Bryce to answer Rod.
Sure. Bryce, this one is in relation to the web crawler. Did you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so thanks, Rod. Appreciate the question. So regarding the crawler tested, what method do you use to seed the crawler on Tor? So what we've done so far in developing the tool was use websites, onion links that we had from previous analyses, but as well working with law enforcement. So taking this back a bit, this was part of work that I did when I was in Canada. And so we were working with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and there were websites that they were tracking. And so what we did is we asked for a list of 30, 40 websites, or onion links would be a better way to do it, for websites that they knew were distributing child sexual abuse material. And then so that's what we put into there. And then from there you can follow, you can use the hyperlinked content there to tell you a bit more and to find new websites. And as sad as it is, you can go online and find plenty of links to websites that do this type of stuff. You do ask what limitations may arise given the dynamic nature of this environment. Yeah, it is an issue. So again, going back a little bit, with a PhD that I did, feels like a long time ago. What we did is we actually were able to track these websites, even though the networks or the websites are dynamic. We're able to follow them over 60 weeks. So the exact details of how that was done. It was working with a colleague of mine, Dr. Richard Frank, who's now an associate professor at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver, British Columbia. So he would be able to give a little bit more technical details, but I'd be happy, Rod, if you wanted a bit more to discuss that offline and also give you a bit more information on that and connect you with Richard if you were looking to see. I know he's made a lot of advances with doing that. And so I know that we can track the websites over time, even though they're dynamic and the environment is constantly changing. Since this is potentially an active search tool that uses probabilistic match discovery, could you please comment on how it may be used? So, we wanted to be cautious in our wording today about detecting new child sexual abuse material. So that is a long-term goal of ours, and we see that being viable in a bunch of different ways. And so we, right now, it could detect new content provided that new content is of a victim that's already known so that you had something to match it to. But one of the long-term visions that we see for this is if it's working in real time to be on, 20 different websites and to say, oh, hey, we've got videos from all 20 of these websites, and on this website here and on this website here, there's videos that have a match, a biometric match. And so we think that, but they don't match to anyone in your database. So we actually think that this is a new victim. And from that, we can see, well, now it's on this website, and the next day it's on these 4 websites, the next day it's on 8 of them, and we can see how everything moves around. And so the detection of new material is certainly something that we see as possible going forward, being able to match it to existing, but also to be able to match to content that's shared on multiple websites. I'm not sure if that answers your last question. If you have a follow-up to that, just please pop it back in there and we can try to answer that for you.
Thanks, Bryce. Russell, I don't know whether you wanted to comment, but we do have a comment from Peter Grabowski, who raises the inevitable question of when you have technology for good, can you have technology for bad? It's in the chat.
Yeah, I can see that one. And I might actually couple the response to that question with your query as well, Adam. First, I want to talk a little bit more about the development process and just reiterate how important it has been to be able to work with law enforcement using real data to be able to test our tool. The material that exists in this environment is very, very different that you might see in illicit settings. And so to be able to work together to develop this prototype to effectively make it better, to make it usable, has been absolutely incredibly important. And as part of that process as well, we've engaged in some really important discussions around the legal and ethical dimensions associated with the use of such tools, like web crawlers, but also the use of various facial recognition and speaker recognition algorithms to match subjects across pieces of media. And we flag that in many ways, it's the wild, wild west. We're at the very first at bat, in the very first inning with respect to the development of these technologies and the deployment of these technologies. So we, recognizing the uncertainty in the space, we've actually launched a number of partner projects that specifically assess the ethical dimensions of the use of both web crawlers and biometrics within an Australian context, but also the legal implications of their use within such Australian contexts as well. So there's a better understanding about the use of these tools. I mean, the reality is such that the algorithms that we are partnering with colleagues who have developed algorithms and are able to implement those into our tool, but we're not actually designing the algorithms themselves that are in our tool. So these algorithms are out there, they are being used for these purposes, and the extent to which we are interested in harnessing these for good to be able to assist in making improvements in this space and enhancing the lives effectively of investigators. But yes, we need to sort out when and how these sorts of tools, in what context are the use of these tools appropriate, legal, and ethical. I think that is at the foundation of the work that we're trying to accomplish here.
That's absolutely so, because we see in so many areas that technology is often ahead of the ethical issues and ahead of the policy implications. We've run just a little bit over time. I'm delighted that the excellent work that you're doing is going to be published in the Australian Institute of Criminology Trends and Issues series, which is very, very widely read and read particularly by practitioners, and that's important. Before thanking you for it, I'd just like to hand over to Rick Brown for a moment from the Australian Institute of Criminology, who has a couple of comments.
Let me see. Here we go. Yeah, thanks so much, Bryce and Russell. Hope you can hear me. Yeah, good.
You're echoing a bit, but.
Oh, okay. Just very quickly, this research we are so proud of at the AIC. You know, it's part of a program of work where we're trying to take a very applied approach to dealing, what we see as a really serious social problem. And I think you're going a step towards that. We had an interesting debate with some of our policy colleagues recently about, well, why are we doing this and the tech industry isn't? Well, the bottom line is they're not, and we are. And we're showing that we can actually make a difference here. So really looking forward to working with you guys over the next year. So thanks so much, and thanks, Adam, for hosting this event.
Great. Well, once again, thanks to both Russell and Bryce and to the AIC. I think this is a very good example of good, solid research being picked up by the practitioner community, debates and discussions about how best to use it. You need quality research to start with, and that's what we've got here. And you need research that makes a difference and has an application. The recording of this webinar will be up on the Stretton Institute website within a couple of days. The Trends and Issues paper will be published very shortly by the AIC, and you have contacts for Russell and Bryce if you want to follow up. So thank you, everybody, and we'll bring today's webinar to an end, and thank you all for your attendance, and this is the beginning, not the end. Bye, everyone.
Thanks everyone for your time. Bye.